deep or deeper? If you don't know what this is a more deep question. Get your brain turning a little bit on maybe a philosophical lens potentially, or just a more political or social lens in terms of how abstract the question is, or just at the very least make you think a little bit more. So, with that said, this question is, how do we deal with AI deep fake? And the reason why I propose the question here is because it's becoming more and more apparent to me how dangerous AI technology can be in impersonating individuals, especially famous individuals. It's gone to the extent where I see ads on YouTube, where they're using AI technology to impersonate famous people's voices to convince people to sign up for certain programs. And if you don't know already, YouTube does a terrible job in vetting the people that advertise on their platform. And because of that, people can fall for it very easily. It's kind of a more evolved version of like the scam calls from the phone, where like old people get scammed on like either buying a product or that their computer is hacked. Now with this new technology, the new version of old people are going to be able to get scammed by AI because it sounds exactly like the person. It's like it's hard to tell the difference. If you can tell the difference. For example, they were doing something regarding a health care. Um, it looked like some type of healthcare scam, and the person endorsing it was Joe Rogan's voice. But it was so obvious it wasn't Joe Rogan saying this. But if you don't know better, if you're ignorant regarding AI and technology, you're like, oh, Joe Rogan said this is cool. Okay, let me sign up for it. And go through, and it was on YouTube. Let me sign up for it. So it really begs the question how dangerous AI technology with these deep fakes can be. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we have a lot of mechanisms in place already to deal with this. I'm not sure if more would have to be passed in the vague idea of a an internet bill of rights, but let's say hypothetically someone uses Joe Rogan's voice, pretends like they're on his podcast. Joe Rogan should be able to sue for his likeness and win that lawsuit because somebody is using his voice to make endorsements he didn't make. You're stealing his persona, you're stealing his intellectual property. I think there is some argument to make about your likeness being part of that extending to the internet as well.
Yeah, I think it's pretty self-explanatory that in a situation with like this of stealing your likeness, or even like some sort of defamation case that could happen based on how someone uses your voice or your likeness, can definitely be warranted for sure. I wonder if we should, like you said, with like an internet bill of rights, or just like at a policy level, take a little bit more of a step forward, a foremost approach to this to ensure that there's a certain level of standard of, hey, this shouldn't be okay, this should be illegal. Yes, it's fun to an extent, but the danger behind it is much more great than some any type of entertainment you may gain from it, especially considering how many people can get fooled from the technology. And it does get a little shaky when it comes down to like certain services using these, that it would be very hard to get a hold of them or to properly sue them, because maybe more than likely, which a lot of these cases, they're probably going to be overseas, right? They're going to be overseas. They did this. They put it on the internet to kind of fool them. Kind of like any scam stuff you see online that tries to trick you to sign up for something, or that false, oh, your computer's hacked situation. Those are going to be the same people using this AI deepfake technology. You won't be able to sue them. They're across the ocean. You're not going to be able to touch them unless you got some crazy hacker that could track them down. But nobody's going to do that, of course. So having a stricter policy on the internet, on YouTube, on Twitter, banning this type of stuff, maybe warranted. Maybe warranted moving forward. What do you think?
I think that there's going to need to be some sort of technological advancement for us to be able to differentiate between real and not, and I don't know if that's possible today. So look at like court standards in the past. So for a long time, eyewitness testimony was highly valued, and now as we see DNA testing come out, I think it's like something like 70% of false convictions hinge on an eyewitness report that DNA evidence later exonerated that person, and eyewitness testimony is no longer highly valued in court. The same thing we see with polygraph tests. Before we knew polygraph tests could be manipulated or manipulating. They were very high held in court. I think we're going to see recordings and recorded video and things like that. The level of scrutiny put on that evidence is going to raise with the raising of these deepfakes and whatnot. I don't think there's other ways to come to these conclusions. I just think that as a form of evidence, we're going to hear recordings go out the window.
Yeah, I wonder if there is some type of like coding signature you can kind of use to determine if things are deep fakes or not. Because it even goes beyond the stuff that I was mentioning earlier. Like you said, in certain situations, tampering with evidence using AI can be a very troubling situation. Um, Obviously, typically what would happen, which is why I want the government to take a set forward approach on this. Definitely take a hands-on approach on this. Is like something serious happens, this goes to the courts, it gets raised a level, another level, and then it's in the Supreme Court, and then we have case law regarding it and referencing, especially uh I am curious to see how people are going to kind of translate this in reference to freedom of speech online with AI technology and the usage of it, of course, because it's kind of similar to the AI technology of art, because there's a lot of complaints about AI art as well. From what I've seen, a lot of the AI art that is created cross references a lot of pre-existing art to create the art that they create artificially. But is it really artificially if it's using basically templates of other art across the internet? It's reaching a very touchy point. AI is reaching a very touchy point, and it really didn't start getting popular until like last year, and it's already reaching a very dangerous point. So we'll see how everything plays out. Of course, if you're listening, if you hear something on the internet, or even if you hear an ad on YouTube from a person, unless you got a raw footage and of that person, then don't believe it. Do not believe it just because it sounds good, just because it sounds like the person. This technology can be very manipulating, for sure. Definitely check once or twice before you do anything, of course.